Hi Focus friends! In this video, I'll share my story about retiring at age 22 and the 5 things that I learned from that experience. So here's the backstory. As viewers of my channel might already know, I struggled throughout Harvard, didn't really like it, and I didn't really think the job market was gonna be much different from college. The way that I saw it, why should I spend 60 plus hours a week doing work I hate to buy stuff I don't need to impress people I don't even like? So my ears perked up when my girlfriend mentioned that her parents had bought a second home, a fixer-upper, on an island off the coast of New Zealand. She explained that we could live there rent-free if we helped fix the place up. I was elated. I mean, every entrepreneur and every story you hear is about making enough money so you can retire to the beach and do nothing. I saw this as an opportunity to just skip all the work and start with retiring. So with $40,000 of combined savings, we retired at 22. Here are 5 things that I learned from that failed experiment. Even with a garden and fishing, there are still living expenses. I'd read in personal finance books how food and housing are your biggest monthly expenditures, and so I figured with rent-free housing and fishing and gardening, we would eliminate any real expense. But it turns out gardening wasn't sufficient to cover our food costs, and so we still had to keep paying for things like rice and flour and fruits. Likewise, it turned out that fishing also cost money and was relatively weather dependent, so even though we bartered to get use of a rowboat for free, there was only certain weather that we could actually go out in. And that left a lot of other meals and food products that we still had to buy. Leisure is boring. My goal in retiring to the beach was to not work, so that's what I tried to do. I gardened, fished, cooked, and then mostly relaxed. I read a lot. I talked with my girlfriend a lot. I went for walks and socialized with others, and I played a lot of games of Uno with my girlfriend. However, by the 1000th game of Uno, I was pretty effing bored. Absence of work is not the presence of joy. The most surprising learning for me from this retirement experience was how much I missed stimulating work, producing something with my mind, creating some value for others in the world. Sure, reading was intellectually stimulating, but it was input. I craved output and something that would matter. Having no outlet to add value to the world through using my brain was torture. Side note, this was in 2003, before the 4-hour work week and the whole concept of digital nomadism was established. This surprising torture that I was experiencing through not being able to use my brain productively finally answered for me why so many entrepreneurs who make millions and millions of dollars become serial entrepreneurs and just keep starting companies. The lesson was clear to me. If you have value to create and gifts to give to the world, you will be miserable without a suitable outlet to do so. My new goal is to never retire. After 7 months, the boredom, higher expenses, and lack of meaningful work caused us to cancel the retirement. But I came back to the US with a whole new outlook on life. I was no longer fantasizing about trudging through 20 years of the rat race so that some magical day in the future I could not work. I realized instead that the goal is to find work that I enjoy. Work that stimulates me intellectually, uses my natural gifts, and adds value in some meaningful way. Utopias do not exist. My final learning was that the island folks were not the enlightened beings that I was picturing. I figured that if I got out of the US and I went to a remote island in New Zealand, the people there would have real values. They wouldn't be materialistic. They'd be in touch with nature, and they'd be living enlightened lives. In reality, they had the same shit going on in their lives that we all see in our own lives. Overeating, drinking too much, killing time, complaining, spending money on unnecessary crap, and arguing over minutia. They weren't bad people by any means, but by spending time with them, I realized that the people back home in the States weren't bad people either. We're all doing whatever we think is going to lead to a happy and fulfilling life. So that's my retirement story. So even though the plan failed, it succeeded in other ways. I now know that if I don't like the work work I'm doing, I need to find ways to change the work, but not to eliminate it. My 22-year-old self with undiagnosed ADD who hated work, hated college, was completely shocked by that revelation. So look, I know that my experience was very privileged and that many people could never do something like that. I also know that my experience was unique and someone else in the exact same position might have had a different experience and different lessons learned. But I wanted to share what I discovered for myself. So focus friends, have any of you tried something crazy like this? Or something that failed miserably like this experiment, but in the end, you learned something valuable? Let me know in the comments below. I'd be interested to know if I'm the only one. And as always, if you enjoyed the content, please like it. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. I've been filming a lot, so there's a ton of really cool videos that are coming out over the next few weeks. So if you click the bell, you won't miss them. And if you want some follow-up video suggestions, here are 2 that I recommend.